Hi, welcome to today's community chat. We're joined by the Virginia Arts Festival's Rhythm Project team. They're going to be speaking with us about what this community engagement program is and what it is in our area. And then we're also going to speak a little bit about International PANFest that's coming up, which, is going to take, some of this drumming live right to the ocean front. So I'm going to bring on our guests today. Thank you guys for joining me. If you want to start really just by maybe going around and just saying your role with the Rhythm Project.
Sure. My name is Dave Longfellow. I'm the director of the Rhythm Project.
Hi, I'm Darren Roberts, the associate director of the Rhythm Project.
And hi, I'm Audrey Holden, and I'm the assistant director for the Rhythm Project.
And a question I just asked them off camera is, how many teachers are involved with the Rhythm Project, and it's these three right here that are educating, we'll talk about the elementary, middle school, and high school students that are involved in the program. So do one of you just want to start telling us what the Rhythm Project is for everyone that doesn't know?
Sure, I'll take the lead on that. Rhythm Project is basically our full year-round community engagement program as part of the Virginia Arts Festival. We bring in a lot of world-class artists, and part of doing that is we send them out in the community and also engage with the students in all shapes or forms. But the Rhythm Project is a year-round program where we really work with elementary through high school students. It's a world percussion ensemble. It focuses exclusively in steel pan, Caribbean steel pan, which was invented in Trinidad. And it's a way for us to basically enrich these students' self-esteem, give them all kinds of sort of structure, and just enrich their lives in a bunch of different ways. And we've been really lucky to do it through this specific art form, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's basically in a nutshell.
And I want to add, this is something that's been happening since, I think, 1996. So it's been a part of the festival in this community for a long time. You guys start with kids when they're really young, or some of them. What's that like, starting with maybe, and then we can move to the other programs too, but the elementary school kids, what's that like? Do they have any knowledge of steel pan drums? What are they starting with?
Who wants to take that one?
I can take that one. So 9 times out of 10, they've never played the instrument, probably never seen the instrument. Sometimes when you play the song Under the Sea, they'll realize, oh, that's the instrument from Under the Sea. With the 5th graders, when we teach elementary, it's usually just a 5th grade class. It's their first time being exposed to it, but unlike instruments like strings or the piano, the steel pan's an instrument where you can get really quick gratification, you can learn something very quickly, and I think that's, we use that to our advantage. We can learn numerous songs within a school year, and the students feel fulfilled. So, we love that side of it.
And it's so collaborative, right, for the whole class. It's not like one kid's playing one instrument, one kid's playing another. You all get the whole class involved.
Correct.
Okay. And I grew up playing, I think the recorder was probably the instrument that were given to a lot of us. I'm sure these sound better, no matter your skill level. But I think, that was that was one of my introductions, I'll say, in our class, to music. So, can you speak to, the history? How did this get started with maybe some of these elementary school kids? Do you all pair with the schools, or do they have an interest?
The Virginia Arts Festival has been a wonderful parent organization for the Rhythm Project, and we've been around in the community long enough that we've really established a lot of really meaningful partnerships with the local school districts and with also other local benefactors and stuff that have helped us with grants. And so working with those school districts, we've been able to do different things. Almost every school district treats us differently in certain ways, so it's not like a blanket thing across we do this in every, so what we do in Norfolk is a little bit different than what we do in Virginia Beach and in Portsmouth and so on and so forth. But in the last probably 6 or 7 years or so, we've really pushed more for the elementary side of things, and Norfolk's been really helpful with that, with the Title I schools, so we're able to enrich the general music programs in certain schools. So instead of just having a choir option or a general music program or maybe strings, now we've added this other component that is steel pan. And again, it's whether it's record, whatever you want to do, this might be these students' first real instrument. And we get to go into these schools usually twice a week. We work with either the same kids twice. Some schools we work with different groups each day. And over the course of the school year, build this general music knowledge. We all learn about what is loud, what is soft, all those things, but to use this instrument in a way to do it. And before they know it, they've realized what a C major scale is and all these musical tools, but we do it in a way where also kind of we can approach it by teaching them a pop tune, something that's a little more, something that's more accessible to them. So as much as we love like band instruments and strings instruments, all those things, it's kind of the entry level is kind of difficult. And it's what's good about that is it takes a long time and patience to get really good at technique and all that kind of stuff. And we can kind of get through that a lot quicker because if you hit the drum just right, you don't hit it too hard or too soft, we can kind of get reward really quickly, and we kind of use that to our advantage, like Darren said, and we go through that, and these kids will learn music, and it's great. So different districts, different partnerships, but it's been nice.
Absolutely, and you said, they might not know what a steel pan is, and then you say that song, but that is one of those things, and you all highlight that, how important that, diversity, cultural diversity in music is. They might not have heard this, this type of music before at home, but then you all are bringing, new sounds, new focuses in school. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that aspect of it?
Audrey?
Sure. I mean, one of the most important things we do when we bring in this steel pan is the first thing we talk about is where is the instrument from and how is it made? And I think it's very important for students in a more Western-based version of music education to learn more about all of the different rhythms that come from, because there's a lot more syncopation. And the way we teach our kids is not with sheet music. It's mostly by rote. So it's a lot of ear training and listening and finding out where your sound is in the band. So it's really important for these students to get a grasp of things that they normally wouldn't get in a regular music setting. So it expands in multiple ways of you understanding the importance of an instrument from a different culture and how to respect and how to let that into your life, as well as learning other things that you can apply later when it comes to general music skills when you continue to play music in the future.
Absolutely. And how many kids do continue this, are excited to continue this, whether it's middle school to high school?
Well, I mean, the way our program works now, it's great because the more elementary school students we see, we have an opportunity to kind of the pipeline, if you will. We have these elementary students who participate in 4th or 5th grade, right. And then we have after-school programs in each district that are for our middle school kids. So these kids, if they really like which happens a lot, okay, this seems cool, I want to continue with it. So then there's an option for them in middle school. Some districts we have school programs in a specific middle school. Otherwise, there's district-wide, you can audition into it afterwards. And then in those middle school programs, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, Norfolk, respectively, we have our flagship program is our Rhythm Project All-Stars, which is our high school group that is audition-based from all those middle school students who have already continued on and want to audition and take it to a whole different level. So there's opportunities there. So we always like to get the All-Stars out in performance opportunities, especially in front of our, what we call our rising stars, our middle school students, and our junior stars, our elementary kids, because it's I'm only getting older, but it's great to see, they see themselves in, the high school students, you know what I mean? They see us do it all the time, it's great, but, for, a 10-year-old to see, an 18-year-old or, a 16-year-old do something on a whole different level, and it's not it's 10 years, 20 years down the road, it's just, 4 years away, and they're on a whole different level, and it's they just started where you were, we just started learning our C major scale, just like everybody else, and now, look at them, on stage, memorizing, hours worth, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, 2 hours worth of music, and it's just, we started kind of getting them into that thing, and really, they start embracing the culture, and it's great. We just really love it.
And we'll talk about it more in a second, but during our showcase concert, we're going to have an alumni portion where in the many different new phases of life that they're in, either in college and beyond, they can come back and play all the tunes that they played while they were in high school and while they were experiencing that. So it's good to always have, I think this is our second year doing the alumni concert, so a bunch of people will be coming back to celebrate again and play.
I mean, and that's such a testament to them having a good time in the program too, that they're coming back, they remember the music, they didn't black it out, it's still a part of them, and for people to look at, not only you saying they're looking up to the high school students, but looking up to the alumni as well that are coming back and maybe showing the kids where they are now.
Yeah.
And I guess that, maybe that's a part of music, a part of, sports and other extracurricular activities, being able to see yourself and develop other skills, really, besides the music. But, I guess I want to hear a little bit more about, I asked about the elementary school, but for middle school students are joining, that can be a hard time, in school and life and growing up. But, do kids that are in this class, do you all feel, like, is it confidence that they're building? Is it other skills they're building? I mean, what do you see from some of those kids?
Middle school is my baby. I love the middle school. So I guess I will answer it. I enjoy teaching middle school the most. I think that is the age where they are figuring out exactly where they want to be, what they like, what their passions are. I've seen a lot of students show up to my rehearsal sad or upset or crying, and I have seen that shift from the minute they touch the instrument, and that alone speaks testament to what this instrument does and what it is creating for them. Not everyone is going to be an athlete, not everyone's going to be a doctor, and I think this instrument is creating some opportunities for our students, especially at the middle school age, where they're trying to figure out, okay, when I get into high school, what do I want to do? Where do I feel like I belong in a community? And I think our middle school group, the Rising Stars, is really helping with that. So, I love my middle schoolers.
I feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of people, a lot of schools maybe don't have the opportunity to have certain arts education, or you have to choose, and they make kids choose, what do you want to do? What class do you want to take? But I mean, that serves as, an argument, obviously, to have the arts education be so important in schools, is it gives you that opportunity.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do people also on the other side of it, do you ever see them struggle with learning the instrument, or do you think, it seems like they all team up though, in this class?
Yeah, we definitely have the few that they're doing it because they want to get through it, but they know that this is not for them, which is okay. We have many of them that are doing steel pan, but also doing dance or doing sports, and they're also like balancing all of them, but you can tell which one they're more passionate about. And I think that's okay. When I was growing up, I was doing sports and music, but eventually I figured out, what was the something that I was the most passionate about. So not everyone is going to want to continue in high school, but I think just having that opportunity to work with other students and also experience a different culture. So experiencing different cultures doesn't exist as much with sports as it does with the steel pan, so I think that's really good for them.
Absolutely. And you all do it, you said, throughout Hampton Roads and different programs in different schools. I mean, that is one thing that, it's a very diverse area down here, in, I guess, culturally, but also, what certain cities allow or what certain cities offer. Do these kids, do they mix, but not until the high school age at All Stars?
As they go through the program, we start mixing them more. Obviously, in our elementary school programs, we're like in a specific elementary school, for example, right? But then most of our middle school programs, we're pulling from a couple different elementary schools. So now it's the first time some of these kids might be in an ensemble or meeting friends, just like most sports organizations kind of do, right? But the All Stars especially is kind of like our melting pot, and it is really. You don't really think about it, especially in Hampton Roads, like even with sports teams, usually you're still kind of relegated to like your high school or whatever, but like our Rhythm Project All-Stars, we have students from Suffolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, and Norfolk, and like they meet on a weekly basis, and they're all coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cities, different vibes, all kinds of different stuff, and they come together and we do this thing, and they make friends for life, and for the most part, I've been here long enough, it seems like it's not often that like a lot of kids in Portsmouth are hanging out with Virginia Beach kids, and with all the tunnels and all that kind of, it's just, there's just some natural barriers to that kind of stuff too, so it's really nice that we can kind of get together. And this group meets year round, so it's not just weekly, it's weekly at bare minimum, and then we do trips, and we'll go to Busch Gardens every year, it's just all kinds of stuff like that, so really kind of keep that family vibe going, and it's like once you kind of get to that level, I think they really appreciate like what we're trying to teach them and all that kind of stuff too. So as we kind of move up from like the elementary level, there's more and more mixing of the groups, and they get to see each other at different places.
You all obviously have musical backgrounds yourselves, but what is it like seeing these kids now doing these sorts of programs? Like, did you have opportunities like this when you were going through the music program when you were growing up?
It's interesting because I think we all have different stories in terms of how we were exposed to music, but specifically the steel pan. For me, I grew up in Trinidad, which is where the instrument is from, born and raised in Trinidad. So I was exposed to it. Wasn't exposed to it in schools the way that the students are exposed to it in schools, which is very different here, because we actually are lacking that in Trinidad. Okay. But it was more of a, you go to this community event after school, and that's the group that you're in. So for me, it was very different. I didn't have it in school. I actually did recording in school, and then after school, I did steel pan. So I think I was introduced to it as early as like 2 years old. But I know everyone here shares a different story, so I don't know if anyone wants to share that story.
Yeah, I had a program that was in my high school, and that's how I discovered the steel pan. I mean, I was a percussionist, and I was a part of a fine arts academy, but they had steel pan, and I instantly fell in love with it, and I wanted to do everything I could to continue that route. So that's how I fell in love with it. But
yeah, I mean, I was just lucky to be in a place where a Trinidadian came to town, and I was in middle school, and I got into it in the right time. Steel pan is funny because I feel, years ago, the United States did a really good job of like putting band instruments in all these schools, like music education, the Sousa effect and all that kind of stuff. And like, I think in the last like 50 or so years, like I feel like steel pan more than any other kind of other instrument, handbells and drum lines and all that kind of stuff are good too. But steel pan is really growing. There was just a handful of Trinidadians that have left Trinidad and ended up in the States and other parts of the world. And where they ended up, they're building pan, they're teaching people how to build pan and tune pan, and it's growing very rapidly in the States, and we're kind of the product of a generation where like, we're starting to see the fruits of that labor. Like I just happened to be the right place at the right time, where like, oh, here's some steel pans, we're gonna, this middle school's gonna start, or this high school's gonna, whatever, and so that's how I got into it, but it's all because of that call, and so there's something about pan, I don't know, once you really get into it, it just kind of takes over. You fall in love with it really hard.
Call it the pan jumpy. Yeah.
And whether it's in Trinidad or whether you're an American learning steel pan, or whether in the UK or in Europe or in Japan, steel pan's huge in Japan. But like people, once you get into pan, like you really get into it, and then you want to share it. So.
Very much so, yeah.
That's what we're doing
Absolutely. Now. And well, you all, we said, you three are really leading this, and so you get a hands-on experience seeing how all of these kids, develop this interest or see this on a daily basis. I mean, is there anything you're noticing, especially you've been with the program, that you've seen change or develop or shift with some of these kids? I guess seeing some alumni come back now, what it's been.
I mean, I'm just really happy to see that's kind of where we're at now. Mm-hmm. It used to be like, okay, well, here's a nice enrichment opportunity. But being here as long as I have and be able to take over as director in about 2014, it's really been nice. The Virginia Arts Festival's really let us have a bigger vision for this. It's like I said, it's an ensemble here, an ensemble there. It's like, okay, what's the getting these kids from elementary in through middle school into high school. We have students now that are deciding they want to go pursue music. Some kids are playing pan. There's a jazz major with steel pan at George Mason University, and some kids are going there. So to give these kids like life skills, not steel pan isn't everything, but being a part of the All Stars really kind of makes you a really well-rounded young adult. There's a lot that goes into it, whether it's logistics and learning how to move equipment and chain of commands. We have captains and section leaders and all that kind of stuff, just like any other well-run organization. Mm-hmm. I think whether it's a sports team or like marching band, stuff like that. And now that like we're to the point where like the students are coming back, the alumni is, we do an alumni component every 2 years. These kids are now having kids. I'm old enough that I'm seeing kids, so start their families, and like to have like this like foundation here that like they all came through this is just really kind of humbling and sweet, and I'm excited to see it grow even further. So
absolutely. I want to ask about the showcase, because that's something that's coming up, and it's an opportunity for people in the public maybe to see what these kids are doing. So can you talk to us a little bit? That you said June 3rd.
Saturday, June 3rd. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who wants to take that one?
We're going to have all of our middle school groups that will come and play, as well as our high school all-stars and our alumni group. That will be on June 3rd at 7:30 in the Perry Pavilion, which is downtown right next to our Virginia Arts Festival building. So it'll be just a brief move of us moving all of our equipment over to the tent. And that's a really great time for us to all come together at a big tent and showcase all of our groups together. We love whenever our middle schoolers get an opportunity to really dive in to the amazing energy that our high schooler students have, which is always a blast. That went really well with our program Rhythm Live earlier, where we had our elementary schoolers see our high schoolers, and they just came back on cloud 9 talking about how much they wanted to be like them and dance like them and have fun like them. So yes, it's that's available to the public, and that's on June 3rd. So I hope that a lot of people can come out.
Absolutely, and that Perry Pavilion, I think this is is this a new showcase, or using that venue is sort of new with
this is like our
post-COVID?
third year in it,
Okay.
and this is like the third year of like them like, this is like coming out of the pandemic, like what do we do, how do we do
Right.
it, and like so the Arts Festival is really, this is kind of a nice new component that we like to build this makeshift giant tent, and it's great, and every year it gets a little bit better.
It's nice.
So yeah, it's on the 3rd, and it's 7:30 is mostly the concert showcasing our middle school and our high school and our alumni, which is like the concert component. But we do also feature, we kind of have like a community day, like pre the concert from like 4 to 6, where we invite our elementary school students from all the different programs to come out and perform, and that's a completely free and open to the public kind of thing. But we have so many elementary school students, and that's a little bit different because they're pulled in so many different directions, and trying to get them all in one place at a time. So it is fun, but it's a real low-key kind of vibe, and like who shows up, and we play, and
big family event.
it's and we have the directors here to like help fill in gaps, and even like our all-stars can fill in some gaps if like a student doesn't, a bass player doesn't show up or whatever. But like for the most part, it's been nice, and like our first year doing it officially last year was a pretty big success. So we're kind of nice to see how that's going to come about, and more people show up, and so that's good too. So we're kind of making a whole big day of like rhythm project stuff. So.
Absolutely. And then this weekend is the International PANFest, and I don't know how you all connect, maybe bring your students there to see some of this in real life by groups from different countries around the world. But can you just tell us a little bit about that festival that's coming up?
Yeah, so Virginia International PANFest, it's a 2-day festival. The Friday is basically workshops with the adjudicators for participating bands, and then that evening at 24th Street Stage, we'll have an opener, which is for that night Jesse Chung Band, and then we have our headlining group, which is the Hell's Gate Steel Orchestra, which is from Antigua. It's one of the oldest steel bands in history that's still in existence, so we're very excited for that. And then Saturday is the actual competition at the ocean front, and that starts at 11 a.m. and it goes all the way until 10 p.m. The competition ends at like 7 p.m. and then we have another opener, Jonathan Scales, who's another leading steel band performer, and then Hell's Gate again will perform as the headlining event. And for that entire day, it's elementary, middle schools, high schools, and then we have an open category for community bands, if it could be a private studio, stuff like that. So we're very excited for that. Our All-Stars will be participating. A few of our Rising Stars groups will be there as well, so we're very excited to take our students down to the beach to compete for this competition.
So it's really every level, that is competing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and like, your average band program goes to like different festivals and assessments. It's just kind of, they get, everybody's working towards a goal, and like the steel pan thing is still so new. Like there's not a lot of places where bands can do this, so it's great. We have bands from as far away as like Connecticut, Ohio, Florida, all traveling to be at the beach for the weekend. And there's obviously this little cash prize that's nice too to go home, but it's also just, it's at least for us locally, we have steel bands, and it's nice to go down there and just get assessed and be judged by people in the pan world that are the best at what they do, these really well-known people. So it's exciting and it's fun, so we look forward to that. Yeah.
And do any of the kids get excited to go see other people perform or play?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everyone is excited to see what the other school is going to bring. Of course, kids at that age are very competitive. So, but, I think, especially with the All-Stars, they are very supportive of the other groups that will be there. So we're very excited to see that community and just see people that we haven't seen in a while in the steel band world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're moving into summer here. I mean, you all are at a full year-round organization, but what do kids do maybe when they're out of class in the summer, with the Rhythm Project? Do they practice on their own? Are they, trying to meet up with, their buddies, or what sort of thing, takes you all through the summer?
You want me to take this?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically our all-star, the high school group is quite busy in the summer.
Yeah.
We have a couple different like camps, if you will. That's like the beginning of our season where we're kind of like start learning all the music, and it kind of puts everybody on the same kind of page, because part of this whole like let's learn music together, this rote thing, is learning how to memorize and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure everybody's learning new stuff at the same time, so everybody's kind of on the same level, and that's a lot of fun. But it's also a break for like some of our middle school and our elementary school kids, because we see them a lot during the school year, so they get a summer break. But for any of the middle school kids who are like interested and they want to see what the high school is doing, they're more than welcome to come around. They know when the camps are, and we invite them to. We All-Stars have plenty of summer performances, so yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities there. But it's mostly we focus on the high school.
Yeah.
And it's also a good time for us to do activities that are not music related.
Yes.
Because as much as they love it, they will also get tired of it. So we try to put in the bush gardens there. If it is that we take them to Apex, so we go wherever it is, but we try to create time for other trips where they can bond outside of just playing in the steel band setting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And is there ways for people to contribute to the community program or volunteer, or what do you all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if anybody goes to our website is really simple. It's rhythmproject.org, and it's all under the umbrella of the Virginia Arts Festival. But you can go to the Virginia Arts Festival website as well, and there's a support page. Connect with like our development department. They're more than happy to talk to you through all that kind of stuff, which is great. So it's nice to have a parent organization like where we're very busy teaching all these different ensembles, but they help like fund the grants and all that kind of stuff and keep everything working from like a business perspective, which is great. So, because without funding, we wouldn't be able to do this. And there's a lot of time that we spend teaching and logistics, and there's just so many ensembles and stuff. So it's great that like, the one thing I don't have to worry about is like the finances of like how, so we work with our grant writers, but it's nice to have like a full-time grant writer that like is always on the lookout for other things while we're out teaching. So it's been great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for coming in today and giving us so much of your time to talk about this. And then I just wanted to point out before we end, that there is B-roll that's been playing throughout this, and I will also link to your website on WAVY.com, but people can actually watch this chat and see, the performances, and they can see, the practices and everything that you all are really doing, in the schools with these kids. So
That sounds great.
thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.